What is up, diehards? Wes Monell in the building for AWOL Sports with Dill Monell, Drew Lacuesta. We got the fantasy flash today. We're going to go through 10 topics to help you out. Well, that was a committee, and check out this one, man. I don't know if this is going to wind up being a committee or not, but we saw a breakout season from Tim Patrick. We've talked about Courtland Sutton, who's been there, done that before as a wide receiver one. Jeudy, first round pick. And I threw up his 2020 numbers because he got injured last season. Not really a fair amount of stats there. Same with KJ Hamler. Those are his rookie numbers as well. Banged up last season. I believe he only played 3 games. Now they have Russell Wilson. They have a pretty solid backfield. It might even be elite. Throw the timeshare out the window. When you look at production from the backfield from the Denver Broncos, you can probably say this season it's going to be elite. They got that defense too to complement it, to keep them in games. But we're talking about the perimeter, the divas out here. And I don't know if these guys are divas, but the position is, you immediately I want to circle Jeudy because Russell Wilson loved Tyler Lockett, right? He loved Doug Baldwin. So that's the one on paper. You're like, oh yeah, that translates. That transfers over from Seattle to Denver right there. But we saw DK Metcalf since he's coming to the league. He's just tearing it up. If that role right now is Courtland Sutton in Denver, or is it? You guys tell me, man. Who do you think is going to be the wide receiver one in fantasy this season from Denver?
The comps are there. Yeah, that's exactly what you would think of as a comp. That's exactly how I wrote it in the notes here. You kind of match who Courtland Sutton would be if this was Seattle. The comp would be DK. Who would be the comp for Jerry Jeudy if this was Seattle? It would be Tyler Lockett. But the only thing that does cross paths is Courtland Sutton is the vertical threat in Denver. Tyler Lockett was also the top vertical threat. I'm not saying DK wasn't a vertical threat, but as far as actually getting successful yards and touchdowns, when that bomb hits the sky in Century Link thrown by Russell Wilson, coming down with it was always Tyler Lockett. He just found a way to get open. We remember the numbers, those live games. I mean, it was like that 85 or 90% catch rate when he was throwing to Tyler Lockett. Just insane. I mean, the kid's 5'10", Jerry Jeudy, 6 feet, 6'1". So I would want to choose one of the two. We had 2 successful receivers with Russell Wilson. You were happy with either one, but if we're going to choose one for fantasy perspective, for some reason, the match I see Russell Wilson favoring is Jerry Jeudy. He's always open. I know he was hurt last year, but same thing with Jeudy. He was in the 96th percentile as far as separation in coverage. So there's a reason why he was coveted. There is a reason why he was a high draft pick. There is a reason why Alabama drafted him, or at least recruited him really hard. The kid has immense talent. Yes, you can kind of poo-poo the drops. I think that's kind of hit or miss at the same time. I think that's something that you can work on. Courtland Sutton is also coming off an ACL, but he did post huge numbers after the ACL. So it is a crapshoot. I would be happy with both too, but if I were to have to choose one, I do see a high upside in Jeudy just because of the target share. I think he is going to be closer to the line of scrimmage. There is still that chemistry that needs to be built. You need to play it safe. You need to feel safe in the pocket with your O-line throwing that vertical threat. So I think the check down is going to be very popular early in Denver, and I think that chemistry is going to build a little bit sooner with Jerry Jeudy.
Dill.
Oh, wow. I don't really have much to say on this one now because I swear you guys pretty much talked about everything that I was thinking of. So I'll just say the comps though. Like I'm on the same page with you, right? Obviously that Tyler Lockett, Jerry Jeudy, right? But that was my thing. I feel like Courtland Sutton is going to be that guy ending up catching some of those bombs from Russell Wilson. So initially, I was kind of leading Jerry Jeudy as far as a fantasy perspective. Still can't I still can't commit to that yet. So I think Courtland Sutton is still going to benefit, and I think they'll be able to hit a couple deep balls in first couple of weeks, and be able to kind of build that chemistry from there, a la, DK Metcalf. Again, it's kind of hard to be that exact player, right? DK is a special athlete, nothing against Sutton, but as you guys mentioned, actually this whole room pretty much has gone through some brutal injuries over the past couple of years. So that's tough. They're all looking, I'm sure they all have chip on their shoulders too, right? People like us questioning, the whole room, is Russ really going to make them better or vice versa? So I think Courtland Sutton is going to be able to shine this year and catch some of those deep balls. And I think that's going to benefit from a fantasy perspective. And I think on paper, it's just easier to get 1,000 yards in the season. So I think some of those bombs are naturally going to translate to that. But I think in the touchdown department, he's going to benefit the most.
Okay. So KJ Hamler's got to wait in line, man. There's people ahead of him. Is there room? All of us agree Sutton, Jeudy at the top of this list here. Is there room for Tim Patrick on a fantasy roster?
I say,
yeah.
I think he's a solid flex option. Like even last year, depending, how deep your league is, how many teams, I say, especially in a 12-team league, you can confidently play that man in the flex probably, every week, even this year, without sight unseen of seeing him and Russ. And he's probably going to get you close to double digits, if not, just a little bit under, if you're playing like in a half PPR format there. So yeah, I think he's going to be a viable option. I think at least at this point, more of a flex, kind of option there.
And it probably helps that they don't really have a tight end like Noah Fant. I know he didn't live up to the bill, perhaps, part of that Russell Wilson trade. But it helps not to have a tight end that at least we don't think they're going to try to feature, implement into this offense.
As
So
Twitter, though, Albert O is apparently the answer to
I'm not
everybody's.
paying it, not even giving that light of day, man. That's every year, right? Albert O, what? Like, anyways, so
we're gonna find out this year, right?
So there is room for Tim Patrick just from that standpoint alone. I mean, he was their second leading receiver last year, led them in touchdowns. So that is something, but it's a different quarterback, different world. We know Russell Wilson needs those deeper dropbacks so he can throw over the middle of the field. I don't know, man. You combine, maybe it's just youth, but you combine the mental mistakes Jeudy has had, and maybe it can be attributed to an offense he wasn't feeling. I'm not saying he's right to feel that way, but being a young player, maybe he just wasn't feeling it. He let things get in his head, some drops here, route running issues there. It's Drew Lock at quarterback at the time. And, maybe just the combination of things. And maybe he's going to come out and play like a number one pick, have a healthy year, and ball out. I'm going to put my money right now on Courtland Sutton. I'm going to give him the edge. I think he's going to be easier for Wilson to rely on. You know what his role is, and it's his second year removed from injury, which means he's going to be closer to that normal that we usually see players from knee injuries bounce back from. I'm pretty stoked to see Courtland Sutton. I'm not really big on Russell Wilson. I can't say I just not, man. So I can't say Denver's going to be a playoff team and all that. I think they got to go through that ground game. But yeah, I see room for both Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy to get you double-digit points in fantasy, in PPR leagues. If you're in standard, again, why? But yeah, man. My pick just by an edge would be Sutton. But the table is set for Russ not to make a lot of mistakes and to be safe and to hit Jeudy. But I'm going to put my money on Russell wants to come in and show he's a franchise quarterback, not just another guy that's aging.
Tell me how you really feel.